Let's take a look at the Gilded Blade, a Runebound 3rd Edition expansion from Fantasy Flight. Hey, this is the McGuire Review, and we are going to continue our series of the Runebound 3rd Edition expansions that we have here. We've already done these 3. This is the last one that we're going to do because these are the 4 current ones that are out there in the market today. So this one is the Gilded Blade, and it's going to follow a similar approach as what we saw in The Mountains Rise. So let's go ahead and get it out of the box. We're going to see the same thing that we see with all these expansions. You've got your cardboard insert, and then you have your new miniature that's included, as well as a rule book. If we look at our miniature first, what we're going to have is a new female character, and she has 2 blades, one of which has got like a little dagger she's holding in her hand, and the other one is sort of, rogue style, kind of attached to like a bracelet or a gauntlet sort of on her arm. It's not really a gauntlet, but you'll see from the pictures, it's kind of a blade that's attached to her arm. So one thing that I really like about this miniature is you'll notice her cloak that she's wearing there, and I'll hold that up, and you'll be able to kind of see the flow on her cloak that she's wearing. Sometimes when these models are sculpted and they're in dynamic poses, much like this one here, the cloak will just sort of come down, or it will sort of come down and kind of swoop out just a little bit, maybe just straight out to the backside. One thing that I really liked about the sculpting on this one was that the cloak really flows with the dynamic motion that this mold is sculpted in. And whenever I see that with minis and sculpts, I really pay attention to that. When you make a sculpt, it's not about just the dynamic pose that the caricature is in, but it's also about everything else around that caricature. So this here being sculpted so well with that cloak kind of flowing really stands out, and I really like that. So, kudos to the person that made this sculpt. Well done with the actual dynamic posing of the sculpt. The only thing that I will say is the cloak does have some nice molding and sculpting at the very tip of it, and there's kind of a ragged sort of edge, kind of a ripped edge, and there's even a hole in it. So that's going to look really good when it's painted and washed up. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that sculpting, much like there is in the end, kind of throughout the cloak. And maybe they tried that and it just looked too ragged, and that's why they went with this look. So this is a really good dynamic sculpt. We get into our components that are in the expansion. We'll see here that they have included, again, their baggie. Like I've said in all the reviews, that makes it really nice when you want to put this right back into the base game, because I do keep all these boxes, but I won't carry the expansions around the boxes. I will put the expansions in the base game and locate them there. It makes it really easy when you can kind of just put everything right back in the bag. Now, I will say for the Mountain Rise, as well as this one, you may not want to do that. You may just want to take these and put them into the base set and leave it that way. And I'll explain why, because this expansion is a little bit different than the other 2 that we saw here, which is Fall of the Dark Star and Caught in a Web. Those 2 are scenario-based expansions, where this one isn't necessarily scenario-based. It has some new base items that you can add to the game that makes the game a little bit more expansive from an item and a skill perspective. But it's not going to have a certain theme that is specific to it. Now, it does come with kind of a storyline and a background, and that storyline essentially plays out as, there's this festival going on, and everybody's sort of coming to the cities to buy and sell and trade and barter. And there's raids, there's robbers trying to do that. So that's going to be the theme that you're going to experience over the course of this expansion. The only thing that I will call out for this expansion is it's a little light on the theme for me. And that's only because in comparison to some of these other ones, even the Mountain Rise, which was more of a kind of add to the base set sort of expansion, these three here had very thick themes that you experience during the gameplay, where I feel like this one isn't as theme heavy, but I'm okay with that because it comes with a bunch of new items, which we also saw in the Mountains Rise. And again, any of these expansions that come with a set of new items, like, I'm good with that because it makes the game so much more robust and it gives you so many more options to use those items with the various characters that you have in the game. Let's hit the rule book. Again, the rule book, like all these expansions, these are very small modular expansions, and I like that approach. I think we should kind of keep with that. style for a while, because it makes it very easy to pick up an expansion, low price point. All of these expansions are very low price point. Add them to the base game and get another experience. Look at the rule book here. Again, same thing. We're going to have some artwork on the front. It's going to tell you how to add that expansion into the game. And then on the back, we're going to have a rule set that lists out some of the new combat tactics, and it actually is called tactics. And there's not any artwork on the back of this one. That's okay, though. Let's start to go over our cards here. We're going to have new skills in the game. So you'll see, here's our new skills that we're going to have in the game. And those are going to follow much like we saw in the Mountain Rise, just, different things that you're able to do. Superiority complex, whenever another hero is defeated, gain 1 trophy. Negotiations, whenever another hero trades a good, gain 1 token. So there's quite a few new things you can do here in these abilities. Now, there's quite a few new assets that are included in this expansion. There are 20 of them. But again, not every asset card will come with a new printed token. Now, when you get a new token, that obviously is some type of item, whether it's giving you attack or defense. That's going to go in with your base character tokens when you shake all your tokens and drop them with any type of interaction that you're going to be doing with the board game. So there's a lot of cool stuff here. Winged boots, thieves tools, some wands, patchwork wand, bone wand. There's some obsidian great axe, guardian axe. Just tons of cool items in this one. So I really like the item theme that they have going on here with the wands and the axes. There's some cool armor and cloaks that are included. So that makes it a win for me, just due to those items that are included. You will see that we'll have the 3 new tokens for the character, which is pretty standard. The characters come with their 3 tokens. This character does come with the Tactics Combat, which we also already saw in another one of our expansions. And that Tactics, a combat skill that allows you to copy something that would be dropped by your foe whenever you go into that interaction with an enemy. It's generally used for more of a defensive tactic. There are rules specific to tactics in the expansion rulebook here on the back that lists out all the different scenarios of how tactics work. The last thing you might notice is we've got 9 tokens here. So these are going to be the tokens that are going to be included with our new assets. So 9 of the 20 assets are going to come with actual printed tokens for the game to add to your token pool. And then we're going to have our 5 new for each color: purple, green, and yellow. And again, this expansion is one where you're going to take these 5 and you're going to shuffle those into the base non-scenario cards that are in the game. It's not like each one of these piles is a scenario where it has the colored image down the side for a specific scenario. It does have the indication very small on the corner of the card, and this one has like a little dagger that indicates that these are from this expansion. So that's how that's going to integrate and work. The directions will lay out how to build those sets when you do setup, to how to integrate all of this with the base game. The last thing that we're going to have is the actual Red Scorpion, the new character, the card, and she is pretty cool. I will read here a couple of her skills. So outmaneuver. When you spend a tactic, you may exert to remove the copied token from the combat round. So that's interesting. It's not only that you are able to use tactics and copy something, you can copy it and then exert and remove it from the round. So it's almost like you can copy it and then steal it away from wherever you're copying that from. That's a pretty cool ability we have here. The other item that she has is Fury of Blades. So you can deal X damage. X is the number of times you have used this ability this combat round. You may use this ability up to 3 times per combat round. Fury of Blades is going to be very powerful with Red Scorpion. So just remember that if you choose her as a character, that Fury of Blades can be deadly if you go into combat, maybe with another character or even a foe. But, keep that in mind, other players around the table, when you're going into head-to-head combat with Red Scorpion. She's got that Fury of Blades, and that is pretty dangerous. So that is the Gilded Blade expansion. I think it's another good one. It's definitely a buy. And again, we're now through all 4 of our current expansions that have been released for the Runebound 3rd edition. I would recommend picking up all 4 of them. If they were a little higher price point, I might start to sort of narrow it down to a few. But for the price point, you can pick these up really cheap. And I'm talking like $12 to $14 range is what I think I was able to get these for out there, third-party consumer sites. So, they're not too expensive. If you add them all up, you've probably are still under a full new board game. So, if it's your birthday, if it's Christmas, if you got a little extra cash and you like Runebound, I definitely would recommend going out, picking up all 4, because again, these expansions, they do go out of print. Fantasy Flight is known for that, releasing Talisman, releasing Runebound expansions, and they do go out of print at some point. So it might be hard to get them someday. So why they're cheap, why they're low price point, pick them up. You won't be sorry to add to your base 3rd edition Runebound set. So hit that like, click the subscribe below to join the team, ring the bell. This has been the McGuire Review, and we'll see you next time.